ATA for cutting off my family after they sided with my cheating ex and brother? I'm a 30-year-old guy who recently got divorced. My ex-wife, Megan, 28, cheated on me with my brother, Ryan, who's also 28. Yeah, that happened. I'll get to that. But let me start from the beginning so it all makes sense. About a year ago, my brother reached out to me. He wanted to reconnect after years of not speaking. You have to understand, growing up, my brother was always the golden child in my parents' eyes. He could do no wrong, and I was just there. It wasn't like they were overly cruel, but I was definitely an afterthought. They made sure he got the best, the attention, the support, everything. That's probably why I left home when I turned 18 and didn't look back for many years. We didn't talk much. I was doing my own thing, got a decent job, got married, tried to build a future. But last year, my brother sent me a message saying he and my parents missed me and wanted to fix things. I don't know what made me agree, but I did. I figured, maybe people change, right? Maybe they genuinely wanted to make amends. So, I let my brother back into my life. At first, everything seemed fine. He started coming around more often, and I introduced him to my wife, Megan. They hit it off? Or so I thought. But after a few months, I started noticing things that felt off. Ryan was visiting more frequently, even when I wasn't home. Megan would explain it away, saying they were just hanging out, but I couldn't shake this weird feeling. Then, about 4 months ago, Megan dropped a bombshell. She was pregnant. Initially, I was thrilled. We were married. I thought we were happy, so naturally, I assumed the baby was mine. But something didn't sit right. Ryan's visits increased, and whenever I saw him with Megan, there was a tension I couldn't ignore. He'd make comments about the baby, touch her stomach, and say weird things that made me uncomfortable. I tried to convince myself I was overthinking it. I wanted to trust my wife, but the more I thought about it, the less sense everything made. One night, after she fell asleep, I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed her phone and started going through her messages. And there it was, the proof I didn't want to find. She had been cheating on me with my brother for months, and the baby wasn't even mine. It was his. I felt sick. I just stood there for what felt like forever, staring at the screen, trying to process it. Finally, I woke her up and confronted her. At first, she denied it, but when I showed her the messages, she couldn't lie anymore. She admitted everything. She'd been sleeping with Ryan behind my back, and they planned to tell me about the affair after the baby was born. I couldn't believe it. I just packed a bag and left. The next day, I called my parents to tell them what happened, thinking maybe, just maybe, they'd support me for once. Nope. They sided with my brother. They said he'd made a mistake, that I should be the bigger person, and that I needed to forgive him for the sake of the family. I was floored. My own family, who I'd been estranged from for years, was now telling me to forgive the same guy who destroyed my marriage. That was the moment I decided I was done with all of them. I told my parents I wanted nothing to do with them or my brother, and I filed for divorce. I thought that would be the end of it, but of course, things didn't stop there. During the divorce proceedings, my ex tried to take me for every penny. She and Ryan spun this story about me being controlling and toxic, and naturally, my family backed them up. It was like I was the villain in this twisted version of reality where they were the victims, and I was the bad guy. In the end, she got a decent chunk of my money, but I managed to keep the house, which felt like a small victory. So here I am now, divorced, estranged from my family, and trying to piece my life back together. It's been 2 months since everything blew up, and honestly, I'm still figuring out how to move forward. I'm working more, focusing on myself, but it's not easy. Every now and then, something reminds me of what happened, and it all comes rushing back. But you know what? I'm done with them. My brother, my ex, my parents, they can have each other. I don't need them. I've spent my whole life being the second choice, the one who's always overlooked, and I'm not living like that anymore. I don't know what the future holds, but I know one thing. I'm never letting them back into my life again. Okay, so this is where things went from bad to worse. Yeah, even worse, if you can believe it. After I left Megan and decided to cut ties with my family, I thought they'd just leave me alone. I mean, I was done with them, right? My wife cheated with my brother, my parents sided with him, and I washed my hands of the whole situation. But no, it wasn't that simple. About a month after the divorce was finalized, my mom calls me out of the blue. Keep in mind, I hadn't spoken to her since the day I left, when she basically told me to forgive my brother for ruining my life. I wasn't exactly eager to talk, but she kept calling, again and again. Finally, I answered, just to see what she wanted. And right away, she launches into this whole guilt trip about how family is family and how we need to stick together no matter what. She says Ryan is really struggling, having trouble finding work, and now with the baby and everything, they're really tight on money. She tells me they've been getting by on the divorce settlement money, but that's running out, and they need more help. And then she drops it. She asks me to help them out. Yeah, you read that right. The same family that threw me under the bus when my wife cheated on me with my brother was now asking me for money to support them. I swear, I almost laughed when she said it. It was like, seriously? You're asking me to help the guy who slept with my wife? You want me to pay for the mess they made? But she kept pushing, saying they're really having a hard time. It's not fair to the baby. I need to be the bigger person. I couldn't believe it. After everything they put me through, they had the nerve to come crawling back for help. I told my mom no. Flat out, no. I wasn't giving them a dime. I told her they needed to figure it out themselves, just like I had to when everyone turned their backs on me. But she wouldn't take no for an answer. She started crying, saying I was being selfish, that I wasn't thinking about the baby, that Ryan was truly sorry and just needed a second chance. She tried to make me feel like the bad guy for not helping them, but I wasn't falling for it. I told her it was their problem, not mine, and I wasn't getting involved. I hung up the phone, thinking that would be the end of it. But nope. A few days later, my brother shows up at my apartment. I don't even know how he found out where I lived, but there he was, standing at my door like nothing ever happened. I didn't want to let him in, but he wouldn't leave, so I figured I'd hear him out, just to get rid of him. He starts off by saying he's sorry, that he screwed up, that he never meant for things to go this way. He says he and Megan didn't plan for things to get this far, and he didn't think it would hurt me this much. I just stared at him, wondering if he actually believed the crap he was spewing. How could he not think it would hurt me? He took my wife and my chance at a family, and now he's standing here acting like it was all an accident. And then he hits me with this. He says he's been having trouble finding work since word got out about the affair, and now that they have a baby, they're really struggling. He says he knows I'm doing well at my job, and he was hoping I could help him out until he gets back on his feet. I didn't know whether to laugh or hit him. I mean, seriously? This guy sleeps with my wife, gets her pregnant, and now he wants me to give him money? I just stood there for a moment, completely speechless. Finally, I told him to get lost. I told him that he and she made this mess, and now they had to deal with the consequences, that I wasn't going to bail them out, and I sure as hell wasn't giving him a cent. He tried to argue, saying I was being immature and couldn't hold a grudge, but I wasn't having it. I told him he was lucky I didn't just punch him right there. And that's when things got ugly. Ryan, who's usually all cocky and entitled, suddenly got genuinely angry. He started yelling at me, saying I'd always been jealous of him, that I was always resentful because our parents treated him better. He says the only reason I was refusing to help was because I was still hurt that Megan chose him over me. At this point, I'm just looking at him, completely bewildered. Does this guy actually think he's the victim here? He keeps going, saying it's not fair that I won't help him, that he has a kid now, and I should just let the past go. He even had the audacity to say I should be grateful he stepped in because Megan didn't love me anymore anyway. That's where I drew the line. I told him to get out before I called the cops. I wasn't going to stand there and let him throw all that in my face, like I hadn't already lost everything because of him. He finally left, but not before throwing one last jab. He said I'd regret not helping him, that someday I'd need something from him, and he wouldn't be there. I laughed in his face and told him I'd rather be homeless than ever ask him for anything. After that, I thought maybe, finally, they'd leave me alone. But of course, that was just wishful thinking. A week later, my dad calls me. I hadn't spoken to my dad since the divorce, and I figured he was calling to pull the same stunt my mom and brother already tried, guilt me into helping them. And I was right. He started off all calm, asking how I was doing, acting like everything was normal. I wasn't in the mood for small talk, so I cut him off and asked him straight up what he wanted. Then he launches into this whole speech about how I'm the only one in the family doing okay right now, and Ryan and Megan are really struggling. He said that as family, we needed to support each other, and I should help them out, especially since they have a baby now. I told him flat out no, I wasn't helping them, and I didn't care about their situation. He tried to argue, saying I was being selfish, that I wasn't looking at the big picture. He said if I didn't help now, I'd regret it later because, in the end, family is all that matters. But you know what? I've been through enough to know that's not true. Sometimes family isn't the people you share blood with, but but the people who stick by you when everyone else turns their back. And my family turned their back on me the moment they decided my brother's happiness was more important than mine. So I told my dad the same thing I told my mom and my brother. I'm done. I want nothing to do with any of them, and I'm not going to be their safety net anymore. I hung up, blocked their numbers, and haven't looked back since. Now, here's where things went from bad to completely ridiculous. After telling my dad I was done and blocking their numbers, I really thought that was it. I mean, how many times can they come crawling back asking for money? Turns out, I was dead wrong, because they weren't finished. The next person who tried to reach out was my ex-wife, Megan. Yep, the same woman who cheated on me with my brother, got pregnant by him, and somehow had the nerve to think I'd still care what she had to say. It started with a random text message from her. She wrote something like, "I know you don't want to talk, but I really need to explain some things." I didn't even reply. What was there to explain? She betrayed me. End of story. But apparently, ignoring her wasn't enough to get the message across. A couple of days later, I get a call from an unknown number. I answered, and guess who it was? Right, Megan. I was about to hang up, but she immediately started crying, saying she didn't know who else to turn to. She started going on about how things with Ryan were bad, how he still didn't have a job, and how they could barely afford their bills. And then came the classic. You have to help for the baby's sake. Like that was reason enough. I mean, seriously? Why the hell should I help them after everything? I told her plainly, it's not my problem. You got yourself into this mess, now deal with it. But she kept pushing. She said she knew she messed up, but she thought I'd understand because we were married once, and that should mean something. She even tried to play the "remember all the good times we had" card, as if that would magically make me forget how she destroyed our marriage by sleeping with my own brother. The thing is, at that point, I wasn't even angry with her anymore. I was just tired. Tired of her, tired of Ryan, tired of my entire family acting like I owed them something after everything they did to me. So I told her straight, I don't owe you anything. You're with my brother now, so he's your problem, not me. That's when she started getting desperate. She began saying things like, what about the baby? Don't you care? He could have been yours. That one stung a little, not gonna lie. I always wanted kids, and for a moment, I thought I was going to be a dad. But then I remembered that baby isn't mine, and honestly, that's not my responsibility anymore. I told her, look, the baby isn't mine, and it's not my job to take care of him, or you. You have a whole family that sided with you, remember? Go ask them for help. And I hung up. After that, I thought they'd finally take the hint and leave me alone. Spoiler alert, they didn't. A few days later, I'm at work, just trying to get through the day, when my boss comes over to my desk. He looks a little uncomfortable, which is weird because we usually get along great. He says, hey, there's someone here to see you? And I'm thinking, who the hell would come looking for me at work? I walk out to the lobby, and guess who's standing there? Right, my mother. At this point, I was just done with all of it. I mean, who shows up at someone's job unannounced? As soon as I walk into the lobby, she starts right in. Why are you ignoring us? We're family, and you don't abandon family. I told her I wasn't abandoning anyone. I was just done with their nonsense. But she wouldn't listen. She started crying, like actual tears and sobbing, right there in front of everyone in the lobby, saying I was punishing the whole family for one mistake. She said Ryan was in a really bad place, and everyone was suffering because of me. I looked her straight in the eye and said, you're not suffering because of me. You're suffering because you chose to side with my brother after he destroyed my marriage. That's on you, not me. But she kept insisting, saying they didn't know things would turn out this way and they just wanted to fix everything. But I didn't believe a word of it. I told her I wasn't going to stand there and argue with her in the middle of my workplace, and if she wanted to talk, she could call me if I ever decided to unblock her number. That shut her up quick. She gave me some speech about how I was better than this, and how she raised me to be more understanding. I almost laughed. Her raising me? The same parents who spent my entire childhood putting my brother on a pedestal and treating me like I didn't exist. Yeah, right. I told her if she didn't leave, I'd have security escort her out of the building. That's when she really lost it. She started yelling, calling me selfish, saying I was letting my pride get in the way of helping my family. I just stood there, completely over it. She finally stormed out, still yelling about how I was going to regret this. I went back to my desk, and my boss just gave me this look like, what the hell was that? I didn't even bother explaining. What could I say? Sorry, My mom just came by to try and emotionally manipulate me into giving money to my brother, the one who slept with my wife. Yeah, that would sound great. I just told him it was family drama and left it at that. I spent the rest of the day in a fog, trying to focus on work, but couldn't stop thinking about how my family had gone from betraying me to outright harassing me. I mean, they were showing up at my job now. What was next? Camping outside my apartment? That night, I decided enough was enough. I sent one last message to my mom, my dad, my brother, and even Megan. I told them all the same thing. Do not contact me again. I am done with this family and want nothing more to do with any of you. Stop harassing me, or I will take legal action. It was harsh, maybe, but I'd had enough. I'd already lost my marriage, my future plans, and any chance of a normal relationship with my family. I wasn't going to let them keep showing up to tear me down even more. And you know what? For the first time in months, I felt a little bit of peace after sending those messages. It was like I was finally taking control of my own life, even if it meant cutting ties with the people who were supposed to care about me. And honestly, I don't regret it one bit. We'll see if they actually leave me alone this time, though something tells me this isn't over yet. So, after sending that final message telling my family to leave me alone, I thought maybe, just maybe, I'd finally get some peace. I mean, how many times do you have to tell someone to back off before they get it? Well, turns out my family doesn't understand boundaries, because it wasn't even a week later when my dad showed up at my apartment door. Yep, no text, no call, just standing there like nothing was wrong. I opened the door, and there he was, acting all casual like he was just dropping by to say hi. He gave me that fake smile he always uses when he wants something, and I knew right away this wasn't going to be a friendly visit. He starts with, "Son, we need to talk." And I'm already annoyed because, seriously, what now? Haven't they done enough? I stepped outside, closed the door behind me, and told him to get to the point. I wasn't in the mood for any more emotional blackmail or pleas for money. He cut right to it this time, no beating around the bush. He says, "Your brother and your mother are struggling. Things aren't looking good, and they really need help. You're doing okay now, right? You could easily spare something." I couldn't believe it. After everything that happened, this was still his priority? Making sure Ryan was okay while I was tossed aside like I didn't matter? I cut him off right there and said, "No, I'm not giving them money. I'm not helping them. And I'm done with this conversation." But he wasn't finished. He kept pushing, saying family helps family, that everyone was going through a hard time, and they needed me to step up. Step up. The nerve of him saying that hit me like a ton of bricks. I've been stepping up my whole life while they treated me like I was worthless. I told him straight, "You never stepped up for me. Not once. Where were you when my wife was cheating on me with my brother? When I needed you, you sided with him, not me. So don't come asking me to step up now." He just stood there for a second, like he didn't expect me to actually stand up for myself. Then, of course, he tried to play the guilt card. He said, "We know we made mistakes, but we're still your family. We'll always be your family." It's like they think just saying the word family automatically erases all the crap they put me through. I was done being nice. I told him, "Family, you're not my family anymore. Not after everything you did. You threw me away for him, and now you expect me to save him. No, that's not how this works." He got defensive then, saying I was being dramatic and needed to let go of the grudge. He said Ryan made a mistake, but I was overreacting by cutting everyone off. That word, overreacting, was what set me off. I told him, "You think I'm overreacting? My wife slept with my brother. The child she's raising should have been mine. You all enabled it, watched it happen, and then asked me to forgive him like it was nothing. And now you have the nerve to come here asking me for help? That's not overreacting. That's setting boundaries." I was clearly angry now, but trying to keep it together. He said, "We didn't know things would end up like this. We just wanted to keep the peace in the family." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Keep the peace? How is letting my brother ruin my marriage keeping the peace? But that was typical of them. Always wanting to sweep problems under the rug, act like nothing's wrong, and expect me to just play along. I told him, "Keeping the peace is just an excuse for ignoring the real problem. You've been ignoring me my whole life, pretending everything's fine as long as my brother's happy. Well, I'm not ignoring it anymore. I'm done." And with that, I turned around and started walking back to my door. But, of course, he wasn't done. He grabbed my arm, which, let me tell you, was a terrible move on his part. I yanked my arm away and told him, "Don't touch me. He looked at me like he didn't even recognize the person standing in front of him. I think he really thought I was just going to fold, like I used to when I was a kid. But I'm not that kid anymore, and I wasn't going to let them manipulate me into giving them what they wanted. Before he left, he tried one last emotional manipulation attempt. He told me, "You're going to regret this. Someday, you'll see that family is all that matters." I looked him right in the eye and said, "No. What matters is respect. And I haven't gotten any respect from you or anyone else in this family. So no, I won't regret this." He stood there for another second, like he might say something else, but then just shook his head and walked away. When I got back inside, I just sat there, trying to process it all. It was like no matter what I did, they just couldn't accept that I didn't want to be part of their mess anymore. They couldn't handle the fact that I wasn't playing by their rules, and it was driving them crazy. I guess part of me hoped that, after all this time, maybe they'd finally realize how badly they messed up. Maybe they'd apologize, or at least acknowledge the pain they caused. But that was just wishful thinking. They don't see what they did wrong. They never will. In their minds, I'm the villain for walking away. I'm the one who broke the family. But you know what? I'm okay with that. If standing up for myself means being the bad guy in their story, then fine, I'll be the bad guy. I'm not letting them manipulate me back into being their doormat. After my dad left, I blocked him too. I didn't want any more surprise visits or calls. I knew they'd keep trying, but at least for now, I could have some peace. Or so I thought. A few days later, my phone rang again. This time it was an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail, figuring it was another attempt to reach me. But when I checked the message later, I realized it wasn't my family. It was a lawyer. My ex-wife was trying to sue me for more support money. That was the final straw. I'm not the same person I was when this all started. I've learned that sometimes you have to fight back. So now, I'm gearing up for a legal battle. I've been through hell already, but if they want to keep pushing, this time, I'm pushing back. This time, they're not going to win. I'm done being the one who always gets walked over. So, after getting that voicemail from the lawyer saying Megan wanted more money out of me, I knew it was time to fight back. I wasn't going to let her, or my family, drag me through the mud again. Enough was enough. First thing I did was contact my lawyer. I told him everything that had been going on, from Megan trying to squeeze more money out of me to my family relentlessly harassing me. He was just as fed up as I was, and said we needed to put an end to this once and for all. So, we started building a case. Turns out, she didn't have much of a leg to stand on. She was already getting a pretty decent settlement from the divorce, and there was no real reason for her to be asking for more. But you know how some people are, right? They'll keep pushing until they get what they want, or until someone stops them. I decided I wasn't letting her walk all over me anymore, and I wasn't letting my family manipulate me either. My lawyer and I put together a solid defense, and we even found some loopholes that could potentially get me out of paying support altogether. That's when things started getting interesting. A few days before the court date, Ryan, yeah, him again, decided to reach out. This time he sent me this long-winded email, trying to play the big brother card. It was all about how he regretted how things turned out and how he missed having me in his life. I could practically hear the fake sincerity dripping off the words. He even tried to say the whole cheating thing wasn't really what it looked like, that it was a mistake, and they didn't mean to hurt me. Right? A mistake that lasted for months and resulted in a kid, sure. I didn't reply to the email because, honestly, what was the point? I knew he was only reaching out because he and Megan were scared about losing the support money and were probably hoping to guilt me into backing down. But there was no way that was happening. I was done with them. They had their chance to make things right, and they blew it multiple times. So, the court date finally arrived, and I was ready. My lawyer had everything prepared, and we walked in there, ready for whatever they threw at us. Megan and her lawyers showed up, and, surprise, surprise, she brought Ryan along for support. I wasn't shocked, but it was still infuriating to see them together, acting like they weren't the ones who tore my life apart. They didn't even have the decency to look ashamed or remorseful. They just sat there, whispering to each other, playing the victims in this whole narrative. When it was finally our turn to present our case, my lawyer laid it all out. He pointed out that Megan was already receiving more than enough from the divorce settlement, that she wasn't entitled to more money just because things weren't working out for her. He even brought up the fact that she had been dishonest during the divorce proceedings, hiding the fact that she and Ryan had been seeing each other for months before the divorce was finalized. Basically, we made it clear she didn't deserve another cent from me. Her lawyer tried to argue that she needed more money to support the baby, again, a child that isn't mine, but it didn't hold up. My lawyer shot that down immediately, stating it wasn't my responsibility to provide for their child, and the judge seemed to agree. The best part, my lawyer had also gathered evidence of the harassment I'd endured from my family over the past few months. The texts, the surprise visits, my mom showing up at my work. He presented it all to the judge as proof that they were trying to manipulate and pressure me into giving them money. The judge was not impressed with their behavior, and you could see the look on Megan's face when she realized things weren't going her way. In the end, the judge ruled in my favor. Not only did they not grant her more support, but they actually reduced the amount I was paying her. The judge saw right through her act and decided she didn't deserve as much as she'd originally been awarded. It was the best possible outcome I could have hoped for. After the ruling, Megan and Ryan stormed out of the courtroom without saying a word to me. I could see the anger and frustration on their faces, and honestly, it felt good. For the first time in this whole mess, I felt like I'd actually won. I wasn't the one getting steamrolled anymore. But it didn't end there. A few days after the ruling, my dad tried calling me again. Left a voicemail rambling about how I'd ruined the family and how I was tearing everything apart. I didn't even listen to the whole thing, just deleted it and blocked his number again. I wasn't letting them drag me back into their drama. This time, I was truly done. And honestly, I feel free now. For the first time in years, I'm not carrying the weight of my family's expectations, or Megan's lies, or Ryan's betrayal. It's just me. I've cut ties with all of them, and I'm focusing on myself. It's not always easy, and yeah, sometimes it still hurts to think about everything that happened, but I'm not letting it control my life anymore. Since the court case, I've been pouring my energy into my work, my friends, and just living my life. I won't lie and say everything's perfect now, because it's not. I still have moments of anger, moments where I think about what could have been if things had gone differently. But those moments are getting fewer and farther between. The truth is, I'm better off without them. My family, my ex, they were toxic, and it took me way too long to realize it, but I see it clearly now. I'm never going back to that life. I have a fresh start now, and I'm not going to waste it. So yeah, that's the end of it all. My family tried to screw me over, my ex tried to get more than she deserved, but in the end, I came out on top. I don't know what the future holds, but for the first time in a long time, I'm actually excited to find out. And if they ever try to mess with my life again, let's just say I'm not afraid to stand up for myself anymore. Update 1. Alright, so here's where things took another turn I didn't expect. After all the divorce drama and cutting ties with my family, I thought I was finally done with their crap. But you know what they say, when it rains, it pours. I should have known they wouldn't leave me alone that easily. A few weeks ago, I got a message from someone I haven't spoken to in years, my aunt. Let me give you a little background on her. She's my dad's sister, and growing up, we were never close. She always kind of stayed out of the family drama, so I never really thought much about her. But apparently, she's been keeping tabs on everything that's been going on because she heard about my divorce and decided to reach out. At first, I thought maybe she just wanted to check in, see how I was doing. But nope. She had her own agenda, just like everyone else in my family. She started by saying she was worried about my parents and how the whole situation had torn the family apart. And then she went right into asking me if I would reconsider talking to them again. She said they were hurting without me and that it wasn't too late to fix things. Honestly, it blew my mind. Seriously? After everything that happened, I'm the one who's supposed to fix things? I told her straight up that I wasn't interested in fixing anything. I made it clear that they were the ones who threw me under the bus, not the other way around, and I wasn't going to pretend everything was okay just because they're having a hard time now. She tried to guilt me, saying things like, "Your father isn't getting any younger, and family is all we have in the end." I'd heard it all before, and it didn't work then, and it definitely wasn't going to work now. I told her the same thing I told my parents. I don't owe them anything. I'm not going to be the one to sweep everything under the rug just because they've now decided they want me back in their lives. She didn't take it well. She started getting defensive, saying my parents were just trying to do what was best for everyone and that I needed to let go of my anger. But at this point, I wasn't even angry anymore. I was just exhausted from having the same conversation over and over again. I told her that if she really cared about the family, maybe she should have stepped in when all this was actually happening, instead of showing up now when it's convenient for her. The conversation ended pretty quickly after that. She said she was disappointed in me, which, honestly, was almost funny. Disappointed in me? The one person in this family who actually tried to stand up for himself? Yeah, okay. So that's where things stand now. They're still trying to drag me back in. They still want to make me feel like the villain for not wanting to deal with their drama. But I'm not falling for it. I've come too far to turn back now. I've got my own life to live, and I'm not spending it cleaning up their messes. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.